Two men, born 19 years apart on two different continents, speaking two different languages. One got fired 6 months after reaching a Champions League final. The other was told he was too small, too fragile, too American to make it in Europe. Both had every reason to quit. Neither one knows how. Today, one is called El Sheriff. The other is called Captain America. And this summer, their two stubborn hearts are beating inside the same team, chasing the one trophy America has never even come close to touching. The world calls this team the Yanks, and the story of that word is pure America. Centuries ago, Yankee was an insult, a mocking name outsiders used for American colonists. The British even wrote a song to ridicule them, Yankee Doodle. So what did the Americans do? They stole the song, sang it louder, and marched it straight into a revolution. They took the insult and wore it like a medal. That is the DNA of this nation and of this team. The stars and stripes on the shirt and a nickname born from turning mockery into pride. The hamburger conquered the world. Every country, every city, every street corner on Earth. No army in history has ever spread that fast. And behind it marched the rest of the American menu. Hot dogs, fried chicken, drive-through windows, and a nation that perfected the art of finishing an entire meal in under 5 minutes. And yet, the one dish the rest of the world worships, the beautiful game, somehow never found a place on that menu. Until now. The biggest upset in World Cup history belongs to this country. 1950, Belo Horizonte, Brazil. On one side, England, the inventors of football, packed with professionals. On the other, a group of Americans nobody had ever heard of. A dishwasher, a mailman, a hearse driver, men who had regular jobs on Monday morning. Final score, USA 1, England 0. Newspapers around the world assumed it was a typo. Some printed the score as 10-1 for England because the truth seemed impossible. It wasn't a typo, it was a miracle. And then that miracle was followed by silence. 40 years of it, 4 decades without a single World Cup appearance, an entire generation born, raised, and grown old without ever seeing their country play in one. The return came in 1990, the peak in 2002, when a fearless teenager named Landon Donovan dragged the USA into a quarterfinal, 1 match away from a semifinal. Remember that name, Donovan. It will come back into this story in the strangest way, because in 2018, rock bottom arrived. The country preparing to host the World Cup failed to even qualify for one. But while the national team was breaking hearts, something else was quietly changing the country. In 2007, David Beckham, the most famous footballer on the planet, shocked the world and moved to Los Angeles. Everyone called it a retirement vacation. It wasn't. It was an invasion plan. Beckham opened a door, and through it walked legends. Thierry Henry, Zlatan Ibrahimovic, Wayne Rooney. And then Beckham pulled off his greatest trick. He returned to America, not as a player, but as a club owner. And in 2023, his club, Inter Miami, signed a certain Argentine by the name of Lionel Messi, the greatest player of all time, playing his home games in Florida. Luis Suarez followed him, Sergio Busquets, Jordi Alba. The league that was once a punchline had become a magnet. Football hadn't just arrived in America, it had moved in. The stage was set. All that was missing was a lawman. Mauricio Pochettino grew up on a farm in Murphy, Argentina, and as a player in Spain, he was such an aggressive, relentless, commanding center back that Espanyol fans gave him a name straight out of a Western, El Sheriff. And here is the beautiful irony. The country that invented the Western, the country that put cowboys and sheriffs in every movie theater on Earth, had never had a real one, until an Argentine showed up wearing the badge. His career had tested him like few others. A Champions League final with Tottenham in 2019, fired 6 months later. The galaxy of Messi, Neymar, and Mbappe in Paris. A single stormy season at Chelsea. Every setback taught him the same lesson he now tattoos onto his teams. Get knocked down, get up. Press higher. That is exactly what he injected into America. A brave, suffocating, fearless style where every player hunts the ball like it owes him money. The fans, meanwhile, discovered 2 things about their new sheriff. 1, he looks so much like Russell Crowe that even the internet gave up trying to tell them apart. And when someone showed him a photo of the actor, the sheriff just smiled and said in Spanish, "I'm more handsome." 2, his team simply refused to die. And that spirit was about to be tested by the biggest tournament on the planet. Every sheriff needs a hero to protect the town. America's hero wears number 10, Christian Pulisic, a kid from Hershey, Pennsylvania, the town where they make chocolate, was told for years that he was too small and too fragile for European football. His answer was to fight through every injury, every benching, every doubt. At Chelsea in 2021, he became the first American ever to play in and win a Champions League final. Today, he carries AC Milan's attack in Italy, and somewhere along the way, American fans stopped calling him by his name and started calling him something else: Captain America. It is not a joke, it is a burden, because when 340 million people finally decide to care about football, they don't want a player, they want a superhero. One detail though, the actual captain's armband belongs to Tim Ream, the 38-year-old veteran the sheriff trusts with the badge. But the shield? The shield belongs to Pulisic. Now, remember Landon Donovan? Here is where he returns. In 2006, near a US airbase in Germany, a 7-year-old American boy waited after a friendly match to meet Donovan and got his boots signed by him. That boy was Weston McKennie, and his story is one of the strangest in world football. Born into a military family, McKennie had been playing American football since the age of 4. Then his father was stationed at Ramstein Air Base in Germany, and little Weston hit a problem. Nobody in Germany played American football. No league, no team, nothing. So, out of pure boredom, he picked up the other football. In his very first match for the local village club, he scored 8 goals. 8! They moved him up 2 age groups on the spot, and the team never lost a game with him in it. At 17, life handed him 3 doors: a professional contract in Dallas, a full university scholarship, or Schalke in the Bundesliga. He chose the hardest one: Germany, the country that gave him the game. Then came Juventus, where he became the first American in the club's entire history. They call him the Swiss Army knife: midfielder, defender, winger, striker. Whatever the team needs, McKennie becomes it. And when the sheriff dropped him from the squad in the fall of 2025 as a warning that nobody's place was safe, McKennie answered the only way a soldier's son knows how. He fought his way back and made himself undroppable. In goal stands Matt Freese, the penalty killer who made his name in shootouts. The defense is anchored by the calm of veteran captain Tim Ream and powered by the pace of Fulham's Anthony Robinson. In midfield, the destroyer Tyler Adams hunts next to McKennie. One wins the ball, the other carries the fight. And up front, the firepower is real. Pulisic cutting in from the left, Tim Weah, son of the legendary George Weah, flying down the other flank, Bayer Leverkusen's Malik Tillman floating between the lines, and Monaco's Folarin Balogun leading the line. The system is pure Pochettino: a suffocating high press, brave build-up play, and a bench full of players who sprint like the match just started. This is not the naive America of old tournaments. This is a team built to hurt you. Paraguay, the opening match, 4-1, a storm. The sheriff's high press swallowed Paraguay whole, and the home crowd finally saw what he had been building. Next came Australia, 2-0, controlled, mature, ruthless. 2 wins to open a World Cup. America hadn't done that since 1930. And then, the final group game, Turkey, a strange match. The Turks had already been eliminated, beaten by Australia and Paraguay, and had nothing left to lose. And teams with nothing to lose are dangerous. Turkey won 3-2, playing with the freedom of the condemned. A loss, yes, but a meaningless one. America still finished top of Group D, their first group win since 2010. The sheriff simply tipped his hat and moved on. The real tournament was about to begin. The round of 32, Bosnia and Herzegovina, and 24 years of pain sitting on America's shoulders. Because the USA had not won a World Cup knockout match since 2002. Just before halftime, Folarin Balogun broke the deadlock. Then, minutes later, he was shown a red card so controversial that it left the USA with 10 men for the entire second half. A nation held its breath, but this team was different. And in the 82nd minute, bloodied boot, split sock and all, Malik Tillman stepped over a free kick and curled it into the net. 2-0, with 10 men. When the whistle blew, the sheriff stood before the crowd as the stadium sang "Take Me Home, Country Roads," an Argentine sheriff singing John Denver with a sea of Americans. It was the biggest American win in a generation. The fighting spirit he had preached was no longer a theory, it was on the scoreboard. And so the dream reached the round of 16. Belgium, a familiar ghost, the very same team that had broken American hearts in extra time back in 2014. The days before the match were pure chaos. Balogun's red card should have suspended him, but in a scandalous, almost unheard of move, FIFA delayed his ban by a full year and cleared him to play. Phone calls, protests, political pressure. For a moment, it felt like fate itself was bending toward America. But think about what this team had become. Picture a national side whose audience is the entire world. In the group stage night against Turkey alone, the stands were packed with Hollywood royalty. Oscar winners, comedy legends, screen icons, and A-list stars who normally sit courtside at the biggest shows on Earth. 10 of the most famous faces on the planet, all in one place, all watching this team. The cameras couldn't stop finding them. This was no longer just a football match. It was like a Hollywood movie that even the movie stars themselves loved to watch. And then the match began, and fate stopped listening. Belgium struck inside 10 minutes. Tillman answered with another stunning free kick, his second in 2 knockout games. And for 90 seconds, the dream breathed again. Then Belgium scored twice more. A goalkeeping error, a late Lukaku strike. 4-1. And somewhere in the second half, Christian Pulisic limped off the pitch in tears. His World Cup over without a single goal, his shield too heavy to carry alone. The team the whole world had come to watch walked off the field, eliminated. So the fairy tale ended the way it so often had for America. In the round of 16, against a European giant, so close and yet so far. The stadium fell silent. The sheriff stood on the touchline, hat in his hands, watching a dream flicker out in the Seattle night. But look closer. This team won 3 games at a single World Cup for the first time ever. It topped its group. It won a knockout match with 10 men for the first time in 24 years. And Mauricio Pochettino became the winningest World Cup coach in United States history. The sheriff didn't tame the whole frontier, not this time. Captain America carried the shield until his body gave out. The soldier's son ran until the final whistle. They didn't lift the trophy, but they made a country that ignored this game for a century finally fall in love with it. In 1950, America shocked the world and nobody watched. In 2026, the whole world watched. All of it. The sheriff lost this duel, but the West was never kind to its legends at first. To make them win, it first made them lose. Tonight, the Outlaws slipped away. Argentina, England, Spain, and France. All 4 riding hard toward that golden bounty, the World Cup, vanishing into the dark. The sheriff saw them. He knew them, once and for all. And when the sun rises on the next reckoning, those Outlaws will find there's nowhere left to run. Because the deadliest man in the West was never the one who never falls. It's the one who rises from the dust, rushes off his hat, and reaches for his gun one last time for revenge.